Hello, you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today I will be talking about Schedule 1, a surprise announcement from Bethesda, and more. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. All right, today is a great Monday. Again, it is Monday 4/21. Yesterday was another great holiday. Only if you know, you know. We'll talk about a very similar related subject soon, but some really awesome news just dropped today. Some really, really sick news. And honestly, I thought it was related to just some hoax or some like mod release that was being teased or something. Because there was mention of fans making like a Sky Oblivion kind of game mod for Skyrim, just a mix between the Elder Scrolls Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. But now it's just Bethesda dropping their own Oblivion remastered, and there was some leaks apparently with like pictures, and to me that just seemed like that was more proof of the mod itself just coming around for whatever reason. Like I don't keep up with those kind of stuff. I haven't really kept up on any mods for Elder Scrolls. I feel like the real experience should be Elder Scrolls 6, but we already got that teaser for Elder Scrolls 6 like 5, 6 years ago, which is ultimately just why. Like, where is that game? But now we're getting tomorrow, supposedly on a live stream, Oblivion remastered. So this game, if it's a remaster, it might just have like higher quality graphics, visuals, and then maybe much more polished gameplay. I would imagine something far more in line with Skyrim, very similar to that. But, to me, I feel like they should really be doing something with this like new tech or whatever they did for Starfield, have some similar kind of open, large world, make the realms or the like the Oblivion gates feel like you're going to like real different dimensions with like just walking through the portal and not loading up this big screen. Maybe like those two worlds would be two active states in the game at all times, and you can walk through all the Oblivion gates. They have like monsters pouring out the whole time in real time in the game. I don't know. That might be kind of cool if they could maybe get their act together and make a decent title. Starfield wasn't the best hit, right? I think now that people have lamented on that game for a while, and me personally, I feel like that game was a big letdown to the Bethesda kind of experience, the way I've always felt after games like Oblivion and Skyrim. And then, to the more poignant one, the Fallout games. The Fallout games had a very more similar style with it being first person and like a sci-fi parody of humanity rather than like a fantasy world to escape in. That was always to me like the very two difference between the two. One is like a parody of, world real history, and the other one's like a fantasy realm that might have humans in it, but whatever. Anyway, we're gonna find out more tomorrow, and I'm gonna have to say it. It needs to be gameplay. There needs to be gameplay shown off for this game. There needs to be like at least 10 minutes of something. Like the Kvatch battle, where I believe that Kvatch is the first city where you go into the Oblivion Gate in Oblivion. I haven't played the game since like 2018 or so. It's been a long time. And you go into the Oblivion Gate and then you are there for a little bit of a while. It's more of a streamlined kind of experience, I think. And then you come back and then you can go do the rest of the game and go through any Oblivion gates. The Kvatch battle would be like the perfect thing that they can show off. And just me personally, they could show off the towns being destroyed or burned or anything like that. Who could say what this remake or remaster is going to be like? I don't necessarily have all that much faith in Bethesda and more importantly their umbrella corporation, Microsoft. It just doesn't seem like they are in touch with what is going to make games popular and appealing to fans, gamers. They kind of had that before. Starfield just really seems like they didn't really stick the landing for it. It had that cool parody of a science fiction world, but there wasn't much to like really compare it to like real world other than like corporations. And to that other extent, the Outer Worlds that's coming out, the Outer Worlds sequel, also doesn't necessarily seem like it's the next step in that franchise. So I'm just want to see gameplay. I want to see how this game might propel the series in a way that we've never seen before. I could see this as being their game to test out some mechanics that they want to implement for the Elder Scrolls 6. I could see that being something. I really don't know. So yeah, gameplay and graphics, those are two really big important things for a remaster, right? And I guess that if it's just a recoded, paint polish kind of job for this game, and maybe they tweak the gameplay a bit, they're gonna have to. I think the original Oblivion experience is probably a little too stiff. Personally, I kind of would have liked to see maybe more customization for just the characters. I think that maybe it's a little archaic the way that they do it in Oblivion. I remember making it, and it's kind of more of a slow, dull experience. I kind of like to see things added like jobs or maybe more specialization stuff for the classes, much more specific stuff for these role play games. I still think the game should also really keep that rewarding experience of being able to put all of your attributes in everything and you don't have to fully commit. Like you could do melee, two-handed, you could do arcane spells, like all kinds of spells. You could do sneak, as long as you're using those skills, you improve them. As long as that is like the core experience of the game, I think that's where it's going to really shine. Um, I don't know if I want anything particularly added to it. Obviously, the DLC is going to be really nice, but I think just the more in tuned experience for like the Elder Scrolls player, I think that would be much better. Now, I just think it's odd that they're making this game. I think it's really odd because why did they even bother announcing the last one, the Elder Scrolls 6? Like, what are we doing? Where's that game? What are we doing here? I'm I'm personally just like you always see that with these games where they announce one game and that game takes forever and there's gonna announce another game that's maybe a little smaller in scale and it's gonna like obviously bridge the gap between the release of the one they just previously forgot about, quote unquote. So yeah, the big game might be on Game Pass, and Game Pass is on PC, which is sick as hell. That's a really good, reason to get it. I don't know if that's really a warrant for subscribing to Game Pass, which is what we're just gonna have to see, man. Like I'm not too worried about the gameplay being not fun or not the main focus. I'm not necessarily worried about that. What I'm worried about is how do they make this game feel like it's a more immersed RPG world? And I don't know if the Xbox hardware could even do anything for that, but if it's made on PC, it could probably be run, relatively well on whatever is the new power stuff. We're gonna see like probably far better lighting effects, far better like animations for these characters. Now, I think the animations for Starfield were actually pretty bad. I think even the graphics there. That's why like it doesn't necessarily paint a good picture for me. And they had those leaks, which they do look nice. Those leaks do look good, but I think until we see it tomorrow, we can't really keep assuming what it could be like. They already have an idea what the game is. We probably see a lot more forests. I think there's a lot of green open area in Oblivion. It's between like the overworld stuff. There's a lot of that. But then going into Oblivion is probably gonna be so cool, seeing the fire and the brimstone and all that kind of stuff just there, and the Daedra. Yeah, this is really sick. And on top of it, like we're still doing our Elder Scrolls tabletop RPG. We're all fans of Elder Scrolls. Some of us are even more fans of Oblivion than other games. This is pretty awesome. This is a really cool announcement. And ultimately, it's cool that we're seeing it tomorrow. It's weird that they're not just doing something. Why do this tease the day before? But they probably did that in line because they had those leaks, and they probably can't wait any longer for maybe Summer Game Fest or Microsoft's like press thing. Maybe Microsoft doesn't have any like big event and they can't do anything besides this one big title and that's it. That's all they got. But hey, here we got they got Doom, right? They got Doom. Doom's a pretty big title. Now that's a popular franchise, but the Doom the Dark Ages does look really fun. I think fans are a lot more excited for Oblivion Remaster. This is a far bigger game than I think Doom has been before. Like Elder Scrolls is massive, and enough about the Elder Scrolls. Sadly, the Pope Francis died. He died at 88 years old. Now, I don't follow the Pope very much, but it is very sad that human passed away. And that's just about it. I'm not really talk much more about that. And another video game, right? Mario Kart had the direct. It seemed like it was just a big overarching explanation of what the game is, all the features with Mario Kart modes, maps, the characters, explaining how it works, even unlocking stuff. And there seems to be obviously secrets on the course of the map, which I think is sick. So that game's gonna have like 8 players, wireless gameplay, and even like online stuff, which is even great. A whole bunch of online features as well. I'm looking forward to that game. We're going to be trying to get it through the pre-orders. That's going to come starting, I think, May, early May is when pre-orders start back up for the US Canada era. Yeah, that's pretty sad that I have to wait. Uh, so we're just going to be trying to do that as best we can. And the Switch 2 looks awesome. It does. It really does. So I haven't been keeping up with Star Wars a whole lot. I really don't anymore. I feel like they're not telling as hardcore stories as I would like. I feel like I would like a little more gritty. Now, Andor is really cool. I really enjoy Andor. I know the season 2 is coming out. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. Specifically, there's other shows I want to watch, like Daredevil. I want to try and watch Daredevil, but they had the whole thing about Star Wars with their franchise and announcing a whole bunch of stuff, which I guess they're animated shows, kids shows, and whatever. But the Overpublic is still getting content. The Overpublic still gets content. It's getting a Darth Malgus DLC content, which is pretty sick. Um, I would like that game to get more love. I would like to see that game alive more. I really like MMOs, and I would like the time to maybe try and go back to it eventually. And that's just really cool to see them, Old Republic get more content. I think besides that, like Old Republic specifically, I won't get back into Star Wars unless it's like Andor. They have a Maul TV show. I don't know if I'm gonna watch that if it comes out. I have like a Star Wars Maul book sitting on my shelf that I haven't read, which I do have to do. So we had a game showcase, which is pretty cool. It's not very indie based. I think it's just a general showcase because they had a lot of like larger games that I think we saw, like Power Wash Simulator 2. I haven't seen that game for quite a long time, and this Exhibition 88 or whatever. So RuneScape's been getting some traction with his new game, Dragon Wild. That's awesome. Um, Deliver at All Costs. That game looks awesome. I would love to play that game eventually. Lily's World XD seems very wacky, and like this exhibition, Ready or Not is another like shooter RPG thing, I guess. Demon School mini games didn't seem all that bad. Castlecraft, that actually seemed, I liked the over panning style of that game where you can like look above the sky and then like I guess expand and build all this stuff at once. That seemed kind of cool. Power Wash obviously, and then there's a cool cop game, LAPD 2195. That does seem awesome. Black Desert is still putting out stuff for their MMO, and I know there's like a golf game with golf with your friends again. Hello Again does seem really fun. That seems like a fun game. So I have some of these written down. I'm trying to find where they are on this list. 'Cause some of them I didn't necessarily specifically care for. Vending Dokkan, I remember thinking, but Unbeatable. Unbeatable looks crazy. This is like a rhythm game, apparently. I want to play it so bad. It looks so funky. The art style looks really cool. Really, really fun looking game. I'm gonna try and keep up with it and find out when it comes out. Syntopia, it's like a city like builder, I guess, like a Sim style game, but like you control people in hell. Oh, it does seem pretty fun. I'm gonna try and keep an eye out for that game as well. And then I have on here like there's some firefighting game that was teased, and I don't remember the name of it. Maybe it's redacted. I see that Neighbors game came out with their early access, which is awesome. That game does look really fun. I'm trying to find that fire game. There's what is this? Chain Staff. Chain Staff looks pretty awesome. It's like an action side scroller. Firebreak. Firebreak. Hazards of the Job. That seems really fun. It's like a 3-player cooperative first-person shooter game. Oh, it does look really cool. So those are pretty much the games that like stood up for me. Oh, and Nice Day for Fishing. Hooked. So hooked. This game comes out on May 29th. It's like a RPG. I think it has maybe slight action tendencies to it, but it's like a Terraria type game. Not much building, I would say, but much more fishing focused. They have like bosses and stuff that's very in line with Terraria. This game looks so sick. May 29th, it's a guarantee. Guarantee I'm playing this game. Speaking of like fishing games and stuff, I haven't got a chance to do the Dave the Diver DLC with the Ichiban, right? The Yakuza crossover that they had. I'm trying to get through that, right? I've been trying to get through a lot of games, and I've been playing Final Fantasy 14, right? So Final Fantasy 14 has been really fun getting back into that. Got the DLC for PC, so I could just farm up level 90 to 100 here while I'm not doing much, and a real focus of my time has been Schedule One. And like I said before, that this episode kind of relates to a holiday. Yesterday was 420, not just Easter, right? So it was 420, and Schedule One very in line with that kind of vibe. And I think it worked out that I waited this long to play Schedule One because it worked out just here on this relatively kind of same holiday. And Schedule One is a game where you just um, manufacture and then sell drugs. That's it. And you do some other stuff. There's like mini games. There's like a Pong TV thing you could buy. Some other mini games on there. And then there's like side quests and other kinds of smaller, goofy things about the game. And I find this game really, really enjoyable. The rhythm of the game is pretty awesome because you can control what you want to focus on, right? Because if you don't want to do any of that, you can just sell trash and make money that way or do some other kind of stuff. Like there's a pawn system, I suppose. So I guess you could just sell stuff, right? But of course, the crux of the game is just selling narcotics and other kinds of things. And it's a funny game. It's funny about it. It has really good humor. I think the graffiti is one of the funniest things about it. I think that the names of the drugs that you can rename them as well is super sick. And overall, the gameplay loop of this game has just been super enjoyable, right? You just wake up, you can choose to like fill up your inventory with a bunch of drugs and sell it yourself in little baggies or jars, or you can give it to your dealers and your dealers will do it for you and farm money. You can even like buy property to launder money. You can buy people to package and do all the work for you. It worked out. Like just in my run, I'm about like maybe 30 hours or so. I just bought like a vehicle, and the vehicle I don't think you could put storage into it. I haven't really necessarily tried it out, but you can just drive around faster, which is awesome. Get around places quicker. There's police in the game that can arrest you. I think people have seen the game already enough, but it's super fun. I would love to see this game get a little bit more content. It could definitely do with maybe like a few more locales just to brighten up the scenery, like a beach frontier kind of place, or maybe like a park, like a hike place or something like that. Just maybe a few more fleshed out areas. But ultimately, this game's in early access, and it's going to get a whole bunch of stuff later on. Not to mention, like it has multiplayer. I play with my friends, joined my friend's game, and I helped him enough to just get in the skateboard. Now he has the skateboard, and the skateboard helped me a lot. You can use it pretty good on the roads until you get a car. And yeah, this game's been super super fun. Just playing it, chill in the background. The music's killer. It's just vibing time. I love it. It's super great. I do think it's time for us to talk about our sponsor, Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crass, jitters, or angst like other energy drinks. We also have no mouth seduction fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Dubby is an energy drink powder that is produced in FDA registered and inspected facilities in the United States. If you use coupon code down below, you can get 10% off your order on things like drinks, powders, apparel, puddle bottles, stickers, and bags. All right. So, besides video games, been pretty busy just dealing with the overall life and finding time to do stuff. And reading is something you know, haven't had time to do a whole bunch. I'm not as far in the Dune books as I would like, right? So I am only halfway through God Emperor of Dune. This is as far as I've ever been in the franchise. I finished Children of Dune, and that was awesome as well. But I feel like the inner family kind of politics, waned a little bit there in the last two books, right, with Messiah and then Children. Maybe it could have been one book and had like a mix between the two events. I'm not really sure, but overall, I like the vibe of this book a lot more. I think that Tyrant uh, Worm Emperor is awesome. Tyrant Worm Emperor is the sickest right now. Like, I don't want to get into too many specific spoilers because if you're gonna read it, go and read it. I think that you would find it much more appealing to read it on your own than hear somebody just tell you about it. But yeah, right, there's a Worm Emperor. That's basically the premise of this book if you want to just read that one on its own. But yeah, there's a Worm Emperor and he does some Worm Emperor stuff. He's a tyrant That's basically the premise of it. Now it's much more sly in it. I think that the best part about this book is that the relationships are kind of extremely long lasting. So you get the experience of the people who talk to the tyrant and live with the tyrant, and how that just dissolves their relationship with him. And this we're talking about like an omnipotent being here. We're talking about a being that can see like all branches of the future and then not just the past. So they can know everything about the person they're talking to, essentially reading their minds to an extent. That's kind of where we're at here. And I think it's awesome with the people that talk to him and how they deal with talking to him. And some of them just go, "Yes, yes, Lord." And some of them are pretty outright outspoken against maybe not liking him. And he's just like, "Oh, well, this is fate. What are you gonna do about it, right?" It's kind of crazy. There's some grand plan here in this overarching book, which hasn't been explained overall. Only about like maybe page 282, and you don't get a whole idea yet. It's pretty cryptic. The Worm Emperor is pretty cryptic in his plans coming forward. If you've like already read or watched Dune, then I'll say that the journey of these books, some of the characters that are in here, they get some horrifying like ends. And, to some degree, one might even say fate's worse than death. And that's pretty true for some characters that have been standing since the original book up until God Emperor of Dune. I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty metal. It's some of my favorite characters, and I'm excited to see like where it goes for some of these as well. It's just pretty fun again to experience the books like this in preparation for the Dune MMO, right? We've been an MMO kick, and that's a game that's coming out May. No, actually, it was delayed, which was pretty awesome because then it's just gonna be like a better experience, right? Apparently, its latest beta is just to implement the changes, that accumulated during that time, which is awesome. I'm not heard about that. It's only 3 weeks. It's not like 3 months, which is not a long time at all comparatively to other delays, but like it's not 3 years. Um, so they also even had the Dune like combat gameplay focus, and I thought that was really awesome. I thought what they showed off for that was really really sick. Seeing the way that you have to like maneuver around the combatants that you're fighting against, whether it's ranged or um melee combat, was really sick. You kind of have to also parry and dodge all of their attacks and then get through their shields. Now, so Dune Awakening, the MMO, takes some caveats with the lore because the lore of the books has war and combat kind of a meticulous dance in a way, and that's not necessarily specifically fun for a overall player of like a game, right? And not to mention the fact that like if certain atomics hit a shield, you just blow up. You just blow up. Everything blows up. The planet will blow up, right? That's the lore of the books, and they changed some stuff. Now, I personally don't mind if the game doesn't always follow the lore of its source material. However, it's missing the Fremen. I find that super egregious, but I haven't played the game yet, and I feel like the way they might implement it in the story of the lore, because it's an alternate universe from the get-go. So I can't really be nitpicky or butthurt just because of that. But I'm still excited none of the same. I think it's going to be super sick. I don't know if they did it towards the end of the showcase, but I believe they didn't do it. But they should show off some more multiplayer stuff for some of the gameplay. Overall, maybe I should watch the full thing eventually, or just look it up. But if they show off more multiplayer stuff, that'd be even better. I would love to see how this game runs in like a multiplayer kind of aspect. Don't know how long we're playing this game for. I'll definitely be trying out its early access period for an extensive long amount of time. I'll get to like what is maybe considered the end game, but I think because it's early access, I may not put all that too much time into it and just wait until like a full release and then complete dump. That's just all my time into it. Unsure. It depends on maybe the books because I want to not just finish the main series of the Frank Herbert Dunes, but get into some of the side content. I think some of the side books might be pretty fun, and just to overall see what we can do with there. But that's a time thing, right? And besides Dune, so we'll be reading that for the next few weeks at least. We got God Emperor, and then I think Heretics, and then Chapter House. I think those are the last books that we have. So manga, right? Mangas, we just kind of piecemealing it. It's really just whatever I could find on Shonen Jump app. Cause it's kind of hard finding manga online. I dislike that. I want all my manga in the same place. I don't think all of them are in the same place, and I gotta try and do a better job of just keeping up with all of them and the release. It's pretty hard, but ultimately, I just use the Shonen Jump apps to keep up because they tell me like when they're going to release and stuff. Like I think a new chapter of Dan the Dan came out like an hour ago or so, but speaking of Danadan, we had a pretty awesome fight. That was pretty sick. And it's, I don't think there's much of a tease for the next chapter, but I just really like that this manga has like fights and UFO alien stuff. I really appreciate that. I kind of, that's what really drew me into here, and I just find that really appealing to me. It's also like very well paced and structured. I really like the formatting of it. It doesn't drag on these fights. I think the fights are at most like maybe 6 to 10 chapters, like in full length, so it's not really all that long. We're at like chapter 190, right? So we're getting to chapter 200 soon. I don't necessarily see an end in sight for this. It certainly feels like it could go on forever. That's what I feel like. And I feel like they should try. They said maybe try to expand this out, make it go on for as long as possible. I like that. But that's the original creator's decision. We had One Piece 1146, and now things are cooking, right? We got the Arrow Girl engaging with the Straw Hats, and now the Straw Hats are getting into fights, and there's stuff happening all across Elbaf, which is super super nutty, and I love it. I love it so much. Chainsaw Man 199 and 200, right? We're at 200 chapters of Chainsaw Man. Who knows when that movie's going to drop at some point? I think it's like October this year. But the latest chapters are pretty sick. Not really going to get into far too many spoilers here because it's pretty spoilerish, the like where we are now. But still, again, like no sight to be seen. It doesn't really seem like there's a finale coming up with some of these mangas, and that's pretty awesome. I'm pretty behind a lot of stuff, and gonna try and keep up with what I can over the next few months. Right, it's just gonna be Dune focused, and whatever the main focus of reading with Dune is, gonna be whatever. But manga is intermittently whatever I can. Like there's that spell, there's Vinland Saga, Berserk. I try to keep up on, and Dragon Ball is nowhere to be seen, which is pretty sad. But yeah, besides manga, right? I did start watching the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure TV show, which is awesome to do it animated. It's like the music, the sound, the voices, all of it's a really cool effect. I'm so glad I read it because it got me through like 6 months of work, which is awesome. And the manga was really fun, but the anime, I really wanted to start the anime because of Steel Ball Run, and being able to see Steel Ball Run and then Stone Ocean animated, I'm super super excited to see those two specifically. And then we'll be talking about those as they come out. Steel Ball Run episodes, I think it's almost like already out, of course. But yeah, I wasn't a JoJo's guy for a long time. My friend tried to get me into JoJo's, but we started doing a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure tabletop RPG, and to prepare for that, read the manga, and now here we are. I'm a relatively new JoJo fan, and it's just been pretty cool to see all this content for JoJo's. We'll be keeping up more on the manga. Definitely dropped that. Gonna maybe reread the current arc, like whatever it is, JoJo lands, and pick it up at some point. But for right now, it was good doing what it was for right now, and we'll catch up with the anime, and then maybe just do the manga again, like the JoJo lands, and then talk about it. Hannah was actually surprised to see that the end credits song was the meme song. She found it out just by listening to me have it in the background. It was really really funny. And so another TV show that has been going on since last week, and we were talking about the show since it started last year with season one. That's The Last of Us season two, and we're gonna go full stop with the spoilers here now because we're here. Like, I think this is the penultimate spoiler for the whole series. Anything else that happens here doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't matter if the game or the if the show is 1-to-1 to the game. It doesn't matter anymore. Like they did the scene, and that's Joel dying. Joel dying. They killed Joel, and man, I don't even want to know what kind of like vitriol backlash is going on online for people watching the show now, because that happened online with the game. People were so mad. And it's like a fictional character. You play as a new person, and it's a girl, which is, for me, a guy. That's awesome. I don't really care. I mean, Joel's fine, but I think that it was a good choice for them to stick with killing Joel. Yeah, she that like they brought back Pedro Pascal, and I could see that being like, oh, this guy's like a big actor. He's probably gonna have some flashback scenes for Ellie. We're probably gonna have some scenes of them living between the seasons one, season two. Of course, of course, of course. Now the the bigger white elephant is Abby. Now I love Abby. I've been an Abby stan since day one. Ever since The Last of Us Part 2, I've been an Abby stand because she's just the fun character, right? She's someone who's literally just the same person as Ellie. That's the way I see it. And I liked her gameplay in the games. They give you like the different weapons. They give you at least some like different modes, like the stuff that takes like the crossbow. She gets the cool like parts with the parkour and the cityscape. It's awesome. I think the Abby parts are really cool, and I'm excited to see what Abby does in the rest of the show. Now, some people are like, "Oh, these two characters don't look like their counterparts." You know what? That's fine. Who cares? They're just humans. They're portraying a role. It doesn't matter if they're like even remotely proportional to whatever. I'm sure this is gonna be fine, right? Now, Joel's dead. What is left? Of course, we all know what's gonna happen. The rest of the show has to happen, and that's gonna be Ellie getting her revenge. The trek to Wyoming, I think it is. And not to mention, the show is so different than the game. So the town was attacked. This is HBO's return, their redemption for the failed um, Game of Thrones season 8, episode 3. This is their return because they had zombies. It was well lit. The was entertaining. The fight ended, and it kind of made sense the way it ended. It was just kind of really funny to see that I was watching on an HBO app a adaptation of one of their of like a previous media that they make it to a show, and the show has like a horde episode centered around like the last bastion of humanity, technically like defending itself. I find that kind of duality a little bit ironic, funny, whatever. Um, yeah, I just think it's really cool, and I'm excited to see where Last of Us goes from here on because everything else from here on out is probably going to be pure original stuff. Because like the town was attacked, who knows what's going to happen with that? They had the weird crawling clicker thing, right? We don't see that until way later in part two, so we know they're not just part of Wyoming. And I just really excited to see where the show goes. I find it super entertaining. It's worth having the HBO app just now again. And it really makes me want to play The Last of Us 2 again. I love the second game. The second game's so cool. I would love to go back and do it on the hardest difficulty and experience the game, but with the TV show, I feel like I'm gonna get the same kind of vibe. So here's where I kind of think where the show is probably gonna end. I think it'll end somewhere in the middle between them, like Abby and Ellie meeting in Seattle. Like I think at the aquarium they meet up just slightly. I think it'll be right around there because I think this is part two. From what I, it'll probably ultimately end in that like fight I think they have in the aquarium or some basement that they have together, some shootout, and then there's like an end that'll be season two. We'll probably get some episodes where it's just Abby focused, maybe Abby getting back to Wyoming or dealing with some MRO stuff because there's some cool parts in the game as with the Abby chapters that were really fun. And maybe they make a movie for season three. I don't think season three should be a TV show. It seems really pretty long. Um, a season three or a part three for the game, it's really hard to say whether a part three for the game would happen or not because I think part two is such an awesome ending, such an awesome ending about being unable to accept peace and being able to like justify actions for yourself. I love it. I don't think that the ending of season or part two will be the same for season two. I don't think that the same endings will be the same. I think it'll probably be something different. Just because there's some cool stuff about part two in the end that's I don't really want to spoil, right? We'll spoil the show because we're talking about it. It's like just happened. We're talking about it here, so we talk about it because like it's. I just love talking about The Last of Us because of the hate that it got online from its release with its part two. I think that the voice actress for Abby was awesome. I think the story was awesome for The Last of Us 2. I don't care that Joel died. Doesn't matter. He's a fake person. And I'm going to get to see more of Ellie and Abby do awesome stuff against clickers and all kinds of shit. And that's just it. I honestly didn't even want to have that petty, weird drama between Joel and Ellie. I didn't really want that. It seemed a little weird in the show compared to the game. I don't think the game had that much of an emphasis on it. There's obviously like tension there, but I don't necessarily remember how it played out. But I kind of felt like it was more inclined with um, Ellie just not trying to accept the choice made by the end of season one, right? With him taking her out of the hospital. I think that it's her acting out like that way, or like against that, not really trusting what Jill told her or something like that. At least in the game, that's what it was portrayed as. And anyway, those are the TV shows that we've been watching, and just everything else for the last week. On like episode 81 now for the podcast, or only like 19 away from 100, which is crazy. And for the future, I think next week we'll be talking about the Daredevil show. I'm really behind on the Daredevil stuff, and I really wish I saw Captain America. I just really wanted to see how they did Red Hulk in that movie. But Daredevil, I hear, is pretty good, so we're gonna try and watch that as soon as possible and talk about that for the next episode. And hopefully we don't got up for Dune and all kinds of other stuff, and hopefully we got some surprise game announcements this week, not just with the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster. Anyway, you guys stay safe out there, and I'll see you next Monday. Peace.